Hi all, thanks a lot for joining in. This is Rahul. I hope you are able to hear me and able to see my screen. All right, thanks for confirming. So let's get started with our session. If you guys have any queries to discuss before we get started, you can ask it right now. Otherwise, we'll come to the point where we left yesterday. Anything you want to ask before we get started? Abbas is saying he cannot hear me. Think just a moment. Okay, how to know which version we need for a particular browser? Which Eclipse version? See, Eclipse version is not dependent on the browser. So Eclipse version is dependent on the Java that you're using, the JDK that you're using. Yeah, for compatibility, you need the JDK 8 is supporting the version up till 2020-03. If you go a little higher, then it is going to support like at least Java 11. But I've seen people who are using JDK 15 or JDK 11 are facing little bit compatibility issues when they are configuring Jenkins or other stuff. So that is the reason I have seen that 90% of the market is still using Java 8, because Java 8 is completely open source. From Java 11 onwards, there are some license version as well in Java. So even if you go to the website where we have downloaded Java, let's say download JDK 1.8, you can clearly see over here that from Oracle license has changed for the release like from April 16, 2019 onwards. That is from Java 11 itself. So there are some like paid components as well, not open source. So that is the reason. I mean, I think the latest one are like there are some challenges when you integrate with the open source components that we are going to use. So I've not explored Java 15 as of now. I mean, because I didn't get any requirement for exploring Java 15. So Java 8 is one of the most stable. We need Java, the basic part of Java, that is the core Java, and that is working absolutely fine when you use JDK 1.8 with Selenium. Yeah, real-time implementation in companies are using JDK 1.8 itself. So don't worry about it. Sonar is asking, is there a way we can have two versions of Java on machine without uninstalling Java 15? I can still use JDK 1.8. You can use that. I mean, in case you configure your environment variables for JDK 8, and even when you are like creating a Java project, so with your Java project, your JRE library is already mapped. So see, mine is showing Java 1.8. In case you want to switch in between the Java versions, you can do that by going to this build path, and then you need to click on configure build path. And here you need to look at libraries, select JRE system library, click on edit, and from here you can use the alternate version. I mean, alternate JRE version. I only have 1.8, so if you have both versions, so it may going to show you like JDK 15 as well over here. So from here you can choose and you can try whether it's working for you or not. Session in total will be having 13 to 14 sessions on core Java, and same for Selenium. Java 8 is still one of the most stable, so don't worry about it. All right. Tarun is asking which version of Eclipse? 2020.03. Use 2020.03. Right. How to import the project? See, like Atul is asking how to import the project. Let's say this is the Java project that I'll be uploading it for you along with the code. So what you need to do, you need to open up Eclipse, and how to import the project, just right click on your project explorer, go to import, go to journal, select existing project into workspace. Click this, and here you need to give that root directory path. The folder that I'm going to provide you, just download that, provide the path, and click on finish. You'll see that your project will be added. So this is how you'll be importing the project. Uh, your Java C is showing 15. Have you configured environment variables for Java JDK 8? You have configured. I'll take a look at it because you have multiple versions of your machine. There could be a possibility you need to configure Java C as well. So that I'll check. I'll try to replicate the same scenario on my machine, and then I'll update you that that how you can have both the versions. But I really don't recommend. I mean, why you want to keep Java 15 as well on your machine? Yes, we are going to see like these topics in our training, like related to Git, GitHub, check in, check out. So these are the things we'll be covering. Not in the Selenium part, but in the API part, we'll be covering Git, GitHub. Right, GitHub is major related to checking, check out of the code. So although it is already there in the Selenium videos as well, but in 7 weeks it is a little difficult to cover all the topics. So just GitHub. You're going to see in the API testing part as well. Right, and people enrolling for the Selenium course will going to get the API training as well, the complete training, which is for 2 months. Yes, Nawaz, we are going to cover 2 real-time projects in this course in Selenium itself. Okay, Aisha, I didn't get your question. It was asking me to import it. I didn't get your question. Okay, packages, we have not created it yet, right? The project is not yet complete. Okay, you are talking about the Chrome driver. Chrome driver, I have not imported any package. This is because I have actually imported it, but I did it with some shortcuts. So you didn't see that. So the package, if you see over here, the package is added. See, this is the package, right? So I'll be explaining that stuff today. So I don't want people to who are very new to Java should get confused with what packages are. Can we get the recordings immediately after the session? See, recordings are very huge. I mean, somewhere around 400 to 500 MB file, and it takes time to process the recording as well. So I try to make sure that to upload it as soon as possible. Since the sessions are happening late night India time, so most probably, I mean, you see it very next day. Like today's session was uploaded by afternoon itself, right? So I try to make sure that to upload it as soon as possible. Okay, Abbas is saying he was looking for a Selenium Java document and he couldn't find it. I'll let you know how to find it. I'll show it to you today. All right. Okay, then let's get started with our session. So then we're going to take the topics at the end of the session, right? The general questions we're going to take it at the end of the session. Let's continue with the topic, and if you have any questions related to the topic, that you can ask in between. All right. Okay, so let's see what we have covered yesterday. So we have seen what exactly Selenium is. It's not a tool. It's basically an API collection of jar files or set of libraries, right? We cannot see Selenium. We cannot install Selenium. We can only configure Selenium. And then Selenium is only for web-based application testing, not for desktop, mobile, database, or web services. Then it supports multiple languages, multiple platform, multiple browsers, right? All these are features of Selenium. And these are the components that we have discussed. There are 4 components. One is ID, one is RC, one is WebDriver, and one is Grid. With Selenium 1.0, it was IDE, RC, Grid. With 2.0, it was IDE, RC, WebDriver, Grid. With 3 and 4, it is only IDE, WebDriver, Grid, right? ID is for record and play. RC was the very first version of Selenium, which is related to the coding part, right? Because like majorly things cannot be achieved using record and play. All this integration cannot be done using record and play. So they have created development. They've created a coding library as well in order to achieve the things using the programmatical way. So what they did in Selenium RC, they actually created one of the class called as default Selenium class. This was the very initial class. I mean, this was the one of the major class, and this was the only class you can say in Selenium RC library. So all the methods related to automating a website, like all the actions that we perform click, we perform type, all the actions were available in a form of a method inside this class when they have created this class. So methods were like, there was a method called as start. In case you want to launch a browser, you need to call this method start. In case you want to navigate to a website, you need to call a method open and provide URL in this method parameter. So that is in the form of a string URL, right? And then in case you want to get the title of the page, the method was get title. One by one, they have created somewhere around 100, 200 methods. It was a very small library. Selenium 1.0 RC was a very small library, right? In order to work on Selenium in the initial version, what we used to do, they have given us a jar file, like we downloaded 3.1 for 1.59. There was a jar file at the time of 1.0 as well. And after adding a jar file, what we do, we create an object of default Selenium class by saying default Selenium equal to new default Selenium. So this we are discussing about the history of Selenium. So how Selenium was started, what all flaws, what all challenges that people have faced, due to which the latest versions came into the market. And we are also going to discuss the architecture of Selenium, the latest Selenium, right? So difference between start and open at that point of time, start is to launch a browser, open is to navigate to a website. So it was very simple to work on Selenium RC. Even if you are not very good in Java, there is only one class. In order to call these methods, you need to create an object of a class and call the method one by one, something like this. Selenium dot, the very first method is start. So it launches a browser. Selenium dot open. When you call the method open, you need to provide the URL as in http google.com, right? Then Selenium dot get title. This will give you the title of the page. Then Selenium dot click. This will click on any button that will gonna provide. Selenium dot type. This will type it in the input box. Selenium dot close. So it was very easy to work on Selenium RC, right? Just one single class and all the methods inside that class. And we need not to worry about what code is written in those methods. We are just calling these methods one by one and we are automating the entire website. Very easy. Even if we are not good in programming, we should be able to work on Selenium RC easily, right? Sonal, at the end of the session, I'll again let you know where the recordings are hosted and where I have uploaded today's recording. So I'm gonna show you the complete path, right? So let's focus on the current topic, right? Otherwise, that okay, thanks. Right. So what I was saying that it was a very simple class. Like there is only one class, and all the methods were there inside the same class. And in order to call those methods, we just need to create an object of a class and call the method one by one. And when we run it, it start automation. I mean, the browser launches and all the actions performs on the page. But this is a plain Java code, right? How the actions are being performed on the browser, how this code is communicating with my Firefox browser or the Chrome browser and performing action on the browsers, performing click, performing type. This is just a plain Java code. What is there at the backend architecture? So at the backend architecture of Selenium 1.0, that is Selenium RC, was that Selenium RC, it injects JavaScript on browser. So this is how Selenium RC used to work. I mean, we used to work with RC is like there is something called as Selenium standalone server. Standalone server. This is nothing. This is your Selenium jar file. You first need to start this server, right? The jar file that we have downloaded. If you have seen the jar file yesterday, so the jar file I have downloaded over here. So this is what your, see, you can see over here, it's written Selenium server standalone. This is your Selenium server. At time of Selenium 1.0 or initial 2.0, when we were using Selenium RC, we need to start this server by going to command prompt and let the command prompt launch and typing java-jar Selenium server standalone jar and press enter. You can see one Selenium server is started. Server is up and running. So this is your standalone server. Now what this server is going to do, when you run your Selenium RC code, it injects JavaScript on your browser. If some of you are familiar with JavaScript, not the programming language, just what exactly JavaScript is and what JavaScript, like what do we perform with JavaScript. Anyone knows what is JavaScript, where it is executed, where the JavaScript is executed? Browser. How about others? Browser cache, front end, exactly. Okay, can you please show one more time Selenium server, where to download? I'll show it to you where you need to download it. You need to download it from the main website. I'll tell you the path, right? So JavaScript is actually executed on the front end. Even if we are not using Selenium, we can still perform actions on the UI. Front end as in your UI, this UI. You can write a JavaScript code. If you are a JavaScript developer, you can write that code and perform click on it, perform search, perform type, perform all feasible action that you do manually on a website. You can do all those actions using JavaScript code as well. There is no need to use Selenium. But JavaScript code is little bit tricky, right? It is little complex as compared to basic core Java. In order to perform, let's say, click, the JavaScript code looks something like this: document dot get element by id dot click, something like this. This is for clicking. Now what they did, they wrapped this code. They wrapped this code inside the click method. Now you are calling click method from this default Selenium class. You're calling click, but ultimately it is executing the JavaScript code on your browser itself. So this is how the architecture of Selenium RC was defined. That Selenium RC injects JavaScript on browser and then perform action. And in order to support this JavaScript injection, we need to start this Selenium standalone server. This is what is communicating with the browser with the help of this JavaScript injection. Now, many companies started using Selenium RC and they started facing a lot of issues, a lot of challenges. One of the challenge was the library was very small. There was only counted methods, like 100, 200 methods. Like if I need to perform any action on a page, there has to be a method available inside this default Selenium library. Like when we write our test cases, we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean that for every permutation and combination, you're going to find a method inside default Selenium class, right? Maybe one of my test case is to find all the links on this page. There is no as such method in case of Selenium RC which will help you in finding all the links on this page. Maybe if I show you this default Selenium class, you're gonna see it inside the Java document. Now, how to get the list of classes and methods inside Selenium library? Where to get it? Where to see this? They have actually created a Java document for it. For every Java project, you actually gonna find a Java document. It's not like something like a Word document or a PowerPoint document. Java document looks something like this. If I go to Selenium Dev, these days, if you are searching for the Java docs from Selenium Dev, they have recently uploaded a very latest Java document which in which you might not going to find like the old classes, even some of the WebDriver classes as well. This is the location of the API document. This is your API document. If you click on this, and here you can select frames. So this is how the Java document it looks like. And you can see list of classes. All these classes were not there at the time of Selenium RC. So it's a huge list. There are so many classes. We are not going to create any class, right? The classes are all created. We just need to use this class from here. But this, I can see there are a lot of issues in this Java document. They have recently hosted it. You can see the classes name are repeating. They are duplicate, right? So this is not a correct Java document. They recently uploaded it, but there seems to be a bug over here. It's not the correct Java document. For the time being, what you can do is simply say Java doc for Selenium 3.0. So you're going to find it somewhere over here. Let me see. See, this is the Java document, the actual Java document of Selenium 3. Here you're going to find all the versions Java document, whichever you want to see, starting from 2, right? But if I show you this 3 API doc as well, and default Selenium class is not there because in 3 Selenium RC was gone. So if I go to 2.53.1, and if you go down, I think they have removed it from this library. Default Selenium is no more showing. Let me go a little more down. Yeah, I think they have actually removed it. It is not even showing in the previous version. So default Selenium class is no more showing in this API document, right? Anyways, this was actually the package which contains that default Selenium class. Let me see if I go to this interface. Yeah, this is where you may gonna see this is an interface. Now, what is an interface? People who are already clear with Java might be able to understand it, but don't think it as an interface for the time being. Treat it as a class, and this interface is basically implemented in default Selenium class. So the methods that you're gonna see inside default Selenium class are these methods. These are the methods. This is the list of method. You can see a method click. It clicks on a link, button, radio button. Close simulates the user clicking on the close button. So these were the methods at the time of Selenium RC. And if I go down, the last method you will see is window maximize. If I go down, see, this is the method window maximize. So in case you want to maximize your browser window, you need to call this method. So what you need to do, you need to create an object of the class, call these methods one by one, and automate the entire functionality. But if you get a test case which asks you to get all links from this page, I want to get the count of all links. Just see if there is any method for getting all the links. If you want to get anything, the method always starts from get, like title, get title. You want to get text, the method is get text. So search for get, see, get title, get text, right? I want to get all links. Do we have any method for getting links? Let's see. See, I got a method. What it is returning? It is returning IDs of the links on the page. But I don't want ID. I want text of all the links on this page. There is no as such method in this library through which you can achieve this task. There is no way you can achieve this test case. You can automate this test case in Selenium RC. So this is 1 out of 1,000 scenarios. And there was an n number of scenarios which cannot be automated using Selenium RC because the library is limited. There were limited methods, right? So this was one of the biggest challenge. And the other major challenge was JavaScript injection. Selenium RC, as I said, it was started somewhere around 2004, 2005. And at that point of time, the majorly used browser was IE, Internet Explorer. Until now, I mean, there are some old projects which still support IE as a browser. They don't run on Chrome and Firefox. Now, when we are using Selenium RC is injecting JavaScript on your browser, and your IE is a highly secured browser. IE blocks that JavaScript injection due to all the security parameters which are there on IE. And if we disable those security parameters, if we lower down the security level in IE, then if we are accessing HTTPS website, if we are accessing website with SSL certificates, then those websites will not gonna open. So these were some of the challenges that companies have faced while working on Selenium RC. And all these challenges were actually recognized by one person whose name is Simon Stewart. So Simon Stewart in 2006 used to work as a lead developer with Google. So where he started another project parallel to Selenium RC, and he named that project as WebDriver. So WebDriver was initially started at Google, and many Google developers have contributed into the development of this project. Even today, WebDriver is very widely used in Google as well for automation purpose as well. But many Google developers contributed into the development, not just from Google. There are developers from Adobe, from Facebook, from ThoughtWorks, from n number of organizations, because WebDriver is an open source project. Open source means anyone can contribute into the development. So developers from big organizations have contributed into the development of this WebDriver. And what they did in WebDriver, which was not in RC, the very first thing they did, they overcome all challenges that companies have faced in RC. So what sort of challenge? Injection of JavaScript, right? The very first thing in the architecture, they have removed JavaScript injection. There is no JavaScript injection in case of WebDriver. Then how, if JavaScript injection is not there, then what is the mode of communication? Means what they did, as I said, there is only one class, default Selenium class in Selenium RC. In case you talk about WebDriver, for every browser, they have created one class. If you want to work on Chrome, there's a class called as Chrome driver. If you want to work on Firefox, a class called as Firefox driver, i.e. class called as Internet Explorer driver, Safari driver. Even to support iOS driver, Android driver, they've created these classes. Not just this, it's a huge collection of library. If you look over here, if you look at the Selenium Java document, it's a huge collection of library. See, huge collection of library, right? But I can see, I mean, even this Java document is not complete because I don't see Chrome driver class over here, right? This is not a complete document. And if we talk about Firefox driver class is also not there. Oh, they messed up the Java document part. Even I have stored one Java document reference. Let me see if I can pick that one. Let me see if the Chrome driver and the Firefox driver classes are there. No, even these classes are not there in this Java document. That's weird. I mean, they just messed up this API document. If you look over here in your jar file, you're going to find these classes over here. If you expand this jar file, so jar file consists all the classes, you're going to find this class over here. So the class is inside org, OpenQA, Selenium, and C, Chrome. If you open this, this is your Chrome driver class. Firefox, this is your Firefox driver class. And these classes, I mean, we generally don't open it from the jar file. These classes are there in this Java document. And very recently, they messed up with the Java document, and these classes are no more showing over here. So I'm gonna look for there must be some Java document we can get it over the internet. I'll search for that and I'm gonna share you with that. But don't worry about it. I know what all classes are there, so we'll be covering all of them. So don't worry about it. Right. Okay. So yeah, let's come back to the architecture. So architecture of RC was JavaScript injection, which is not at all good. So what they did, they removed JavaScript injection from the WebDriver architecture. And what they did, for every functionality, every browser, they have created a separate class. Even to support all major functionality, they have created a huge collection of classes that you're going to find it inside the Java document, right? But the question comes, even if I'm using the Chrome driver class, I have written this code over here. I've written this code. And when I'm running it, it is performing action on the browser. This is again a simple Java code. And another thing, there is no JavaScript injection. So there is no need to start the server as well. In case of Selenium WebDriver, there is no server because we are not doing any JavaScript injection. Atul is asking, currently company uses Selenium RC. No one is using RC now. Everyone is using WebDriver, right? Because RC is gone from the market. So how the communication is happening? The server is not there. JavaScript injection is not there. Then what is the mode of communication? So how these classes are interacting? These classes are directly communicating with the browser APIs. So let's say if I talk about Chrome as a browser, right? Chrome must be developed in some language. Could be C, could be C++, could be Ruby. I don't know in which language Chrome is developed. I don't know in which language Firefox is developed. But all these browsers, they have their own APIs. So your classes are directly communicating with the APIs of your browser. And those APIs are performing action on your browser. Right? It's a direct communication, which is built up on something called as Json wire protocol. So what is this JSON wire protocol? Let me explain you with the help of a diagram. So it is something like a client and a server architecture, where we have a client, we have a JSON wire protocol, we have your browser executable, and we have your browser. So what is client? This is your client. This is your client. This area is with your client, these two things. And these are your, let's say, server side, which contains your browser executable files. These are your browser APIs. Like for Chrome, we have Chrome driver.exe. You remember we added one Chrome driver exe yesterday. So with our project, when we were running this code, we have added this Chrome driver exe. What if I don't add it? What if I don't add this? Let's say I remove it. I am going to delete it. Let's delete this Chrome driver exe. Right? I've removed it. Now let's run the same code. Let's run the same code that we have written yesterday. Run it. See, immediately I got exception. What it says, illegal state exception. The path to the driver executable. So it is looking for this driver executable path. Must be set by some WebDriver, Chrome driver system property. Now, what is this thing? We'll be looking at it today. We need to configure some system properties in order to make this code work, which with the path of this driver executable. The driver executable was what we added directly in the project root, right? If we don't have that driver executable, this code is not going to communicate with your browser. That is the reason we got this exception. So that browser executable is important. So what we did, we added that browser executable. I have downloaded it somewhere over here. Just a moment. And I think that file was this. So let's copy this and paste it over here. And now if I run this, let's wait. See, now it's launching the browser, navigating to Google, and then we got the title as well, right? So this browser executable is required. For every browser, do we need to add DZXE? Yes, for every browser, we need that. Okay, Arvina is asking, could you please repeat? So which part you want me to repeat? How I have added this browser executable or what? So I just like what we did, we downloaded this browser executable. Where we got this? We got it from the main website of Selenium itself. So go to Selenium dev, go to download, and all your browsers that you want to work on, that you want to work with, you're going to find platforms supported by Selenium, the browsers. This is for Firefox Gecko driver, IE, Safari, Opera. This is Chrome driver. Go to the documentation and see, when I click on this documentation, this is not provided by Selenium. If I click on this, it is going to take me to Google website. See, so this Chrome driver exe is provided by Google to WebDriver, so that WebDriver can perform a communication with the Chrome browser, right? So direct communication is done with the help of this exe. This is what the API that they have provided. So you need to download this based on the version of Chrome that you are using. So if you have upgraded it to the latest version, all the Chrome updates automatically. But mine is still 88. So like if I upgrade it, it is going to be 89. Then I need to download this one. This is the exe file. So once you download the exe, just copy that exe, go to your project root and paste it. This is the simple stuff that you need to do. But normally we don't directly like upload it, or like we directly don't paste it to the root of the project. This is not a good practice. We generally create some folder folder, as in I create a new folder called as executables. executables, executables. And I want to keep all my executable inside this folder, right? Not just Chrome, I'll do it for Firefox as well. So let's go to the Firefox browser and go to the documentation. See, this is provided by Firefox, Mozilla, right? Not by Selenium. Go to Gecko driver releases and download this latest one, 0.29. Based on your operating system, Windows 64-bit, 32-bit, Mac, Linux. I'm on Windows 64-bit. I'll be downloading this zip file. Start download. Over here, go to downloads, compressed, and this is extracted, and copy this Gecko driver. And again, I'm gonna paste it to the executable. So I'll be keeping all the executable at a different location. But let's say if I run this code again, it has thrown another exception. The path to driver executable. Why? Because now it is not in the root, right? Not directly inside the root. It is there inside some folder. So what we need to do, if you look at this message, it says path to the driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver system property. So something that you need to add on top of this class called as system dot set property. You need to provide a key and a value. Key is this. Key is this. Copy this and provide it over here. And value is the path of your browser executable file. So browser executable file is over here. So get the path. Go to properties. Copy the path and paste it here. And now run this. It should be WebDriver. And now run this. And see, this time we are not getting any error. Let's see if browser launches. See, browser launches and all actions performed. Right? Yeah, the path is hard coded. We are giving the complete path, but I can shorten this path as well. How? Just remove your project and add a dot. So dot represents the root of your project. Your root is this, Amex, up till Amex. Because at times it happens, whatever code that you've written, you want to transfer this code on some separate machine, right? And on that machine, you may not have that D drive. There might be C drive or a different location. So if you transfer your project to a different machine, then you need to change the path manually if you have given it like D drive, workspace, Selenium, and then all the path. So what I did, I removed the static path. I removed that dynamic path which gets changed every time when a machine is changed. And this path will always be static. This is not going to change. Anything after this project, this is not going to change. No matter whichever location this project is now moved, you need not to worry about it because you've added a path with dot. And if you save this and run this now, you're going to see that it is still working, right? So this is how you can shorten the path and add it dynamically like this. Amex is just a project name. It's just a project name I've given. You can give it any name, ABC, XYZ, any name you can give it, right? So now you can see while we are discussing the architecture, I said that we need to have this browser executable available. So this is where the Selenium is actually communicating with. So client, first, what is client? Client is your Java code. Your coding is your client. The Eclipse is a client, which uses Java code. coding could be anything. I mean, it could be C# as well. If you are coming from a C# background, you can still automate any website. If I am working on Java, it doesn't mean that if my website is now developed on PHP, then I need to learn PHP in order to work on Selenium. Then if the website is built up on C#, then I'll be learning C#. Irrespective of language your website is built up in, you can use just one language and automate all the websites. So if you know Java, you can work and automate any website built up in any language. But why multiple language support is there? So Selenium, as we say, it supports many languages. It supports Java, C#, Python, Ruby, and then we have JavaScript. So all major languages are supported. So let's say if I'm coming from a Java background, although 70% of the openings these days, if you find, is with Java, Selenium with Java. Java is very widely used. After Java, the next emerging language is Python, right? And then we have C# and other languages. But still, in case you're looking for opening in the market, first preference you should give is Selenium with Java. And then add on this Python stuff as well, right? So these are all client. I mean, Java, C#, Python. Why Selenium is available in different languages? Because let's say I can come from any background. Maybe I don't know Java, I know Python. Maybe I'm a developer, I'm a Python developer. Now I want to automate some of my stuff. So for that, should I learn Java? If Selenium is only available in Java, then why should I learn Java? I'm from Python, right? Or maybe I am from Ruby background. I want to automate some of my tasks using Selenium. Why should I learn Java? Why should I learn Selenium or C#? Right? That is the reason they have migrated this project to different languages. That is what multi-language support is. Selenium is available in Java, C#, Python, Ruby, whichever background you're coming from. Just use that particular language and automate your website. Any website build up in any language. So this is your client, right? And then you have in between is your JSON wire protocol. This is your JSON wire protocol. And this is your browser, IE and Firefox, or Chrome, all different browsers, right? So what happens? Selenium, okay, Nawaz is saying Selenium with Python is in boom. Yes, absolutely, it is also in boom. But even if you Google around for openings, right, whichever portal that you use, like in India, majorly people use Naukri.com, right? There is Indeed.com. There are other portals as well. So if you search for openings, you're gonna find majorly related to Selenium. 70% you'll still see Java, and then the next language you're going to see is Python, right? So but yes, Python is gaining its importance on a daily basis. This is because AI, ML, all these things are implemented in Python, and Python future is very strong. So that's the reason I ask you to like add on this thing, Selenium with Python. In case you know Java, Python is very simple to learn. Very simple language. If you are good in Java, then within a week you can migrate your entire code in Selenium Python, right? Yeah, exactly, Kundan. So now what happens whenever we write code, like we have written Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver, and we have written all other code. So when we execute that code, the request is sent either in Java, either in C#, either in Python, right? These languages are sending the request. But our browser API, how these APIs are going to understand a request which is coming in Java? Maybe the browser API is designed in a different language. Maybe this is designed in C#, and you are writing a Java code. How this code is going to communicate with the browser API? This is where the JSON wire protocol comes into the picture. So what happens is client sends the request to this JSON wire protocol. Now JSON wire protocol converts the request in a readable format, so that the server is this browser API, the server can understand this request, and this is basically done with something you may have heard about called as REST API. There are some REST APIs that are being exposed, right? So this is done by sending the request in a form of HTTP methods. So who all are familiar with REST APIs? Just the manual part. I'm not talking about automation. Just the manual part. Have you heard about web services, REST, SOAP? All right, great, great, great. All majorly I'm seeing yes, great. So see, if I search for this JSON wire protocol, what this JSON wire protocol is? Let us just look for the JSON wire protocol first. JSON wire protocol of Selenium. And this JSON wire protocol is nothing. These are just your REST APIs, your REST calls. If you go down over here on this website, for every action that we perform, it is sent with the help of these HTTP methods. See, these are all action that we perform. If you know these HTTP methods like get, post, delete, these belongs to the REST API itself. See, when I did navigation to a URL, navigate to a URL, when I use driver.get, then there is a post action being performed, and this URI is being sent, right? Because your server, it cannot understand the language, but it understands the request that is sent with the help of HTTP method. So JSON wire protocol task is to convert the request that is sent by your client into a readable format with the help of these HTTP methods. And then these browser API perform the action on the browser and send back the result to the client. So that is how this entire architecture of Selenium it actually works. For every action, even if you're performing click, you are refreshing the browser, you do any action, even if you're not using the Selenium jar file directly using the Java code, if you know manual testing of API, you can launch Postman and start hitting these URIs, and you can perform the same action on your browser. You can launch a browser, you can navigate, you can click, you can type, all these things with you can do it with the help of Postman as well, because these are all URIs. You just need to pass on these URIs, right? This is a backend architecture, how the code is actually communicating with the browser. Although we need not to worry about it because we are doing UI testing. This is a background, this is a backend part, right? But you must be familiar with the architecture, how the things are happening. If we don't have JavaScript injection, how the code is communicating with the browser. So this is how the direct communication with the help of browser APIs. How your Java code, your C# code, your Python code is communicating with the browser API with the help of this JSON wire protocol. Right? Yeah. Yes, it's equally important to visualize this. Right? Okay, Ritu is asking me to repeat this. Okay, let me explain it once more. See, I am writing a code in Java, and when I'm running this code, I want the browser should be launched, Firefox should be launched, Chrome should be launched. But Chrome, how will Chrome understand this language? Maybe Chrome is developed in some other language. How this language is going to communicate with the browser? Next time I write code in Python, and when I run this, the same action are performing on the browser. So browser, how it is going to understand the coding that we are writing? So this coding is being converted into the HTTP methods. And who is responsible for converting this code in the readable format? That is JSON wire protocol. So this JSON wire protocol converts this in a form of a REST API. So when you run the code, a REST API is being called, and different HTTP methods of that REST API is called. HTTP methods like get, post, delete. Now we cannot go in depth of those HTTP methods, because for that you need to understand what an API is. not the Selenium API, what are web services, how web services works, what is SOAP, what is REST. So these are the things that we'll be covering in the API testing part. But this is a background, right? So JSON wire protocol, it converts the request with the help of these HTTP methods, and that is what these browser API actually understands. And then these browser APIs are responsible for performing action directly on the browser. You cannot perform action on a browser. There has to be some median. That median is your browser executable, which is provided by your browser vendor, right? Because you are not the owner of Chrome. How can you perform action on Chrome? Chrome itself is giving you an API, and it's saying that in case you want to talk to Chrome browser, then the median is that API. You need to send the request to that API, that browser executable, Chrome driver exe, and then Chrome driver exe is going to perform the task on the browser. So Selenium directly is not performing the task on the browser. So Selenium is just sending the request. Selenium is just a client. Your code is just a client. Client is sending the request to the server with the help of these medians, JSON wire protocol and the browser executable, right? So that's what the whole crux behind this architecture. Although we'll be exploring this with the coding part as well more. Okay, so some more questions based on not only SOAP, REST as we communication will happen. See, 90% of the market, 95% these days, REST APIs are being used for communication, not just with the Selenium. Even if you talk about e-commerce website, banking domain, even your Facebook, Google, everything revolves around this REST API these days. It's a huge thing. That is the reason not only the UI part is important for testing, even the API part is important, right? If I talk about API as in your web services, if I talk about SDLC, software development lifecycle, like before developing an application, what is the very first task? What is developed? Is the UI developed first? Is the middle layer, that is your business logic, or you can say the web service layer, or the DB layer? So we have these three layers. One is the UI, one is middle layer, one is the DB. Which is the very first thing that is developed? UI. Do we directly develop a UI without creating a business logic, without creating a database? The very first thing that is created is a database. DB layer is the very first step. Very first thing is your database. The database tables and all those things are created. And then the logic is written, right? Let's say we have to log in with a user. So a developer create a logic, a business logic. He creates methods, right? Create a method like login method that accepts username and password, right? Then the logic is written. And once the logic is written, then they map this logic with the UI. So UI contains your username input box, your password input box, and then your submit button. And this is where, as a manual tester, we generally perform testing, right? If we do functional testing, we do the testing on the UI part. So testing comes at the very end. I mean, if we are doing a functional testing as a manual tester, till the time the UI is not designed, we cannot do testing, right? So UI comes at a very later stage in development. The very first thing that is designed is database, and then your business logic, your APIs. Maybe the UI is not yet ready, but the APIs are ready, right? You have a login API. In that API, you need to inject username and password. You need to provide in the URI. So login API is something like a URL where you need to provide input, username and password, and then test it if you are doing it manually, you'll be using some tool called as Postman. You use some tool called as Postman to do manual testing. And in that, you provide that API, you provide username, password, and if you get a response 200 okay, it means you are successfully logged in. Otherwise, you're going to get some other response code. Based on that, you need to do validation. So while doing testing, we do a lot of permutation combination. We enter correct username, correct password, incorrect username, correct password, incorrect username, incorrect password, and number of permutation combination we do. We enter alphanumeric character, we enter special characters, and if the API is already there, we can try injecting into this API. Now, if I've thoroughly tested this API, next time, let's say the login API is working absolutely fine, it is 100% tested. Now, when this API will be mapped with the UI, what errors are we expecting? I mean, what errors will we get? Will we get any errors related to the functionality? Will we get any error related to login is not happening, this username and password is not working? Will we gonna get that error? That is already tested at the API part. On UI, you'll only gonna receive formatting related issues, cosmetic issues that we call. Some font is not correct, some spelling is not correct, because majorly testing is already done, right? And that is the reason why API testing is very important these days, because every next application communicates with the APIs only, right? So if you attend one of the session of API, I mean, we are starting a new batch of API testing as well next week. So if you try to attend the first two sessions, you'll be able to understand what exactly APIs are and why they are important. And these days, many companies, they are looking for API testers as well, not just manual, but automation, right? And then the UI part comes in. So we are starting with the UI part because UI is very simple to understand. And UI will actually going to help us in building up our base. Later on, we can integrate this API part as well, so that we can perform both UI testing as well as the API testing. Not just manual testing, but we can automate the APIs as well. And how are we going to automate it? With the help of another API called as REST Assured. For UI, we are using Selenium. And what Selenium is? Selenium is just a jar file. Now, what companies want, that you have created a framework, right? You have automated the entire project using Selenium, but you are handling the UI part. Now, what we want is, we want to integrate the API automation as well, not manual testing. We want that you should automate the API part as well. So you are not going to use a separate project for that. You will be downloading one jar file called as REST Assured, and you'll be adding that jar file within this project. And you can automate both UI as well as APIs in the same project. So that is what I said initially when we started, that Selenium is only for UI testing, for web-based application testing. But we cannot only automate web-based, we can automate web services as well using REST Assured, using the REST Assured API. This is another jar file, right? So that's what the architecture. And now, as I said, that Selenium is only 25%. Initially, RC was there. There was some flaw in RC due to which WebDriver came into the market. WebDriver was started in 2006, but it was officially launched in the year 2011, July 2011, after merging Selenium and WebDriver into one single project. That's the reason we call it as Selenium 2.0, which was launched in 2011. This release went up to 2.53.1, and then Selenium 3 came into the market. And Selenium 3 last release is 1.141.59. And now they're coming up with Selenium 4. So that's what the versions. And there's a very interesting history behind the name of Selenium. I know most of you might be knowing it, but like if we talk about Selenium, as I said, Selenium was started in 2004. At that point of time, who is the competitor of Selenium? Do you know who is the competitor of Selenium? Prior to Selenium, there was another very popular automation tool, QTP, exactly, which is known as UFT. So there was a time when QTP market was like anything. It's the same that we have for Selenium today. But these days, you'll hardly find openings in QTP, in UFT. Why? Because QTP UFT is a licensed version. It's very, very expensive, right? Whereas if we talk about Selenium, it's completely open source. And there are a lot of things that Selenium can do, which QTP cannot do, right? The other disadvantage, QTP only works on Windows, whereas Selenium, it works on all major operating systems, right? These days, people are using Mac, people are using Linux, right? Whereas QTP only supports Windows. So if a client wants Manju, I can see your message. Don't worry, I'm going to revert you back, right? Guys, if in case you want to unmute yourself, you can just ask me. I can unmute you, and then you can do a self mute. Whenever you want to directly talk to me, you can do that thing as well. All right. What I'm doing, I'm unmuting you all in one go, but make sure like you'll be self muted, and like don't unmute yourself altogether, right? Okay. So you all are unmuted now. So in case you want to talk to me, you can unmute yourself from your end and then directly talk to me. All right. Okay. So I was talking about that. Like initially, QTP was very popular, and Jason Huggins thought of building something which is like equivalent to or much like a better tool as compared to QTP. So they came up with this name called as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? So if we talk about QTP, who was the owner of QTP at that point of time? Who owned QTP? We have seen yesterday Mercury, right? So Mercury is the owner of QTP. If you talk about Mercury in general terms, what is Mercury? What is Mercury? I believe everyone have seen Mercury. Poison, element, and thermometer. Exactly. Right? There is a saying, if thermometer breaks, if in case you intake that mercury, then you will die. So if you intake mercury, then we need to give you an antidote. That is what selenium is. So selenium is basically an antidote to mercury. Selenium kills mercury. And that is the reason they have given this project name as Selenium. So to end the market of QTP mercury. And up to such an extent, they are successful as well in this. Right? So that's what the history of this Selenium name, why they have given this name Selenium. Okay, so lot about the theory part. Now let's come back to the practical implementation. Let's see what all these things that we have listed down, log4j, mail, what are these things to do? We said that Selenium is only 25%, and rest of the thing, majorly things are covered by these things. Now, if I talk about when I'm automating some project, let's say I'm automating this. I am going to type something in search box as well. Don't worry about the code that I'm writing. I'm going to write one more line of code. What this code is doing, this is going to type something in the search box. So I'm going to type, let's say, send keys, hello Selenium. Don't worry about what I've written. I'll be explaining this line of code once we start with Selenium. Yes, Abbas, I will be using WebDriver Manager. I'm going to come to that topic soon. Right. So let me run this and let me show you what happens. Let me comment out this close. Otherwise, it is immediately going to close the window. See, it typed hello Selenium. Now, let's say when we are writing the code, we are automating the entire website. Right now, just 3-4 lines of code is there. But when I automate the entire website, there could be like more than 1,000 lines of code. And in these 1,000 lines of code, I am going to write my test data as well, right? Yeah, so every time we have to check for updated browser, how to overcome that. We're gonna look at that part very soon. Can you please decrease the font size? Sure. I'll gonna do that. It's little big font. Okay, now it's okay. All right. So what I was saying that when we are automating a website, we may end up writing hundreds and thousands lines of code. So what happens is at times we are performing some login, we are entering username, password, we are filling up the form. So what we are entering in those form is our test data, right? Because we are testing that website and we are entering the test data. So test data, we are not going to hard code over here, right? Even the URL, I'm not going to hard code over here. So the test data, the URL, most of the information we are not going to write directly in the code. We want it to be read from a separate utility, a separate file. It could be an Excel file, right? Mostly where we maintain our test data. We maintain our test data in Excel file, right? Because if we have to test username and password, we may have to test it for 100 users. So we actually store that information in Excel file. And what I want that while I am executing my code, these values should come from Excel. I should not hard code it over here. So when I want the value should be read from Excel, Selenium is not going to help me. Selenium is not going to help me in order to do reading and writing from Excel because it's not Selenium task. Selenium task is just to launch a browser and perform click type. That's it. Excel reading is not Selenium task. For that, I need to use another Java project, which is called as POI, provided by Apache, another open source library, Java project, available in a form of a jar file. So what we need to do, we need to go to Apache website, or there's a standard website called as MWin repository. What is this? I'll let you know about this as well. But what I'll do, I'll search for POI. You can see Apache POI. Java API to access Microsoft format files. You can do reading and writing with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can handle these things programmatically. They have created a library for it. So you go over here, you go to this, and you download this jar file. See, we got this POI jar. Now, once we download this, I'll go to Eclipse. I'll right click over here, go to build path, add external archives, go to download, and add this POI. Now I can call the classes which are there in the POI API and I can do reading and writing with Excel. And I can integrate that stuff with Selenium. Right? Nowadays, some of them are GCP suite. I didn't get that GCP. Could you like make me understand what this GCP suite is, Venkat? Yeah, no, like Apache POI library supports the reading and writing of the Excel file. Okay, you're talking about the cloud files like the Google documents and like the Google Excel sheet. Correct. See, even if you're using Google Excel sheet, you once you download it from the Google Drive and paste it to your root of the project, you're gonna see the format as .xlsx only. And if you're using POI, it is going to read that file as well. Right, like I have a Mac operating system. I have not installed Microsoft like Excel and other things, but whenever I want to integrate my Excel reading stuff, what I do is I download like I write on the Google Drive, the Google Excel sheet, then I download it and I place it in my project and use this POI, and it works absolutely fine. Right, so POI will gonna work with all the .xls and XLSX format. So you need not to worry about it if you don't have that Microsoft Excel installed. Okay, so now this is about Excel. Now at times it happens is like as I said, there's 1,000 lines of code I've written. When I'm executing that code, it is performing all the action, typing, clicking, navigation, everything is happening, and the script is taking at least 3 to 4 hours in completing the entire execution. So for 3 to 4 hours, will I gonna sit in front of my laptop and watching each and every step is happening properly or not? If I'm doing that, then what is the need of automation? Right, what I want that at the end of the testing is done, I should be knowing that each and every element is clicked or typed or the action is performed. For each and every action, I want to maintain a log in a separate log file with the current timestamp, like for this particular hour, this particular minute, this particular second, the script has clicked on the submit button. So that level of logging I want in a separate file, so that if there is any issue happened in between of the script, I can open up my log file and check where the issue was, whether the particular element is clicked or not. So that stuff again is not handled by Selenium. Selenium is not going to generate any log file for you. For that, you will be integrating another API which is called as log4j API, means another jar file. Again, you're gonna search for internet for this log4j jar, just type log4j and you get this log4j jar. You go over here, go to this and download this bundle. Bundle or jar file both means the same thing. Now again, right click on your project, build path, add external archive and add this jar file. Now you can maintain logs as well. Now you can call the classes in this log4j and include the logging part as well, implement the logging part as well. Yes, Abbas, we have not yet discussed about Maven. Once we do that, we'll be using pom.xml. Don't worry about it. We are going to come to that part very soon. Log4j, Arvina, is for logging in order to maintain logs for each and every action. How to get the classes of log4j? Once we cover that, I'll gonna explain you all the classes, what all classes are there. We'll be implementing all these things that I'm explaining right now. Right? We'll be practically implementing all this in the project. But as I said, this is not a task of Selenium. Selenium task is just to perform action, right? Maintaining other things, logging, Excel reading. We have different Java projects. So that's what the benefit of using Selenium. See, whatever is not supported by Selenium, we can integrate it with a different project, right? Anything feasible in Java, anything feasible in Java can be integrated with Selenium. If I talk about an automation tool, like Qtip is an automation tool, UFT automation tool, right? RFT automation tool. All automation tools have some boundary, right? You get a UI in case of UFT, you get a UI, you install UFT on your machine. Now there could be 100 features in a UI in that UI. There could be 1,000 features in that GUI, right? But there is always a boundary. You have to use those 1,000 features only in order to automate your task. If any particular task you want to automate and a feature is missing, then you cannot do anything. Either you go to HP, you ask for add-ons. They sell their add-ons as well to support that particular functionality. But again, add-ons are developed by developers. At times, even the add-ons are not there. Then we are restricted. We cannot automate that functionality. But this is not the case of Selenium because there is no boundary in Selenium. Because Selenium is not a tool. It's just a collection of classes. Like the way we are adding Selenium classes, we can add all other projects inside the same single Java project, and we can extend all functionality that we want. Anything that we want to achieve. We want to do database testing. Maybe the username password is not in Excel sheet. It is there in the database. I want to read it from the database. I want to do some database validation as well. Selenium is not going to do anything, but your SQL, MySQL, Oracle, they provide their own APIs to perform JDBC, ODBC connection, and this is again available in the form of a jar file. So just add one jar file and create a database connection and validate the data from the website. That is how you'll be doing database as well. Well, yes, we'll be doing CSS testing as well. How do we know that for key we have to provide given value under set property? Is it some WebDriver method or a specific Java method? This is a specific Java method. This system.set property is coming from core Java, right? So based on the log, what log says that when I don't include this, the log is saying that we need to add this key value in system set property with the browser executable path. So this is how it is actually done. That's the reason I've added in system.set property, right? We'll be again exploring this stuff once we start with the coding, but let's come over here, right? Then what I want that at the end, the entire automation is done. Now I want to show client that what all test cases are passed, what all are failed. So how will I represent it to client? I'll be showing it in a form of some HTML reports, right? There are a number of HTML reports available, which are generated with the help of extent reports, allure reports. What are these? These are nothing. These are different Java projects available in a form of a jar file. If you want to see this extent report, how it looks like something like this. If I go to D drive workspaces and if I show you one of my live project, let's say this one. Not this one, page of the model, yeah. And then reports. So see, this is how extent reporting looks like. Every log with current timestamp. You can see launch Chrome, clicking on login, enter username and this, type password as this, sign in, and then test case pass. This is for the failed one. Launch browser. You can even attach a screenshot. I've not attached it over here, but we're gonna see how the screenshots can also be attached for failed test cases. At the end, you'll be able to see how many total pass, total fail, start of the test case, and end of the test suite, basically who the automation tester behind the same, the organization, the build number. So this is what your extent reports is, right? So Selenium is not creating this. Selenium is not creating this extent report. This report is created with the help of another Java project. For that, we need to include some jar file. So that is what extent reports are, right? Now, then we have something called as like once the report is generated, what I want that the report should automatically be sent to my test lead, my team lead, my client. I should not be writing up an email and then be sending it. For that, I'll be using another Java project called as Mail API. So using the backend code, once the test suite is completed, automatically a mail is going to generate. Your reports will be attached to the report and is going to send to the client. So you need not to worry about it. We are going to automate that process as well. Nawaz is asking if we want to execute test in Chrome as well as in Firefox, we can run them parallel as well, right? We can launch both the browsers and same test cases will be executed. We'll be looking at that thing with the help of. So what are we going to use for parallel testing? Parallel execution of test cases. How are we going to achieve this? Selenium Grid, TestNG. See, many people are saying Selenium Grid. No, Selenium Grid is not for parallel testing. For parallel testing, you will be using TestNG. Parallel test case execution, right? That is done with TestNG. What is Selenium Grid? Selenium Grid is for remote execution of your test cases. Now, if a client wants that let's say there are 100 test cases. Client want it to be executed on Linux, on Mac, on Solaris, on Windows, on IE, on Chrome. Let's say Windows is running IE, Mac is running Chrome, Linux is running Firefox. I have 1,000 test cases. I want to execute it on remote machines. So I'll keep all my test cases on one main machine that is called as hub, and all the remote connected machines are called as nodes. So when I run my test case from hub, it is going to distribute the test case on multiple machines. Same test cases you can execute on parallelly on multiple machines. Now, will they be executed parallel or in a sequence? That task will be decided by your TestNG framework. But remote execution is done with the help of grid. So grid is for remote execution of test cases. ID, record and play, RC WebDriver coding library, grid is for remote execution of test cases. So that is what the difference in all these four components. And what is TestNG? Why we use TestNG? See, right now I have executed this code. Whatever that we have written over here, I've executed this code. So when code was executed, something was printing in the logs in console. Maybe I have 3-4 test cases over here. Verify user is able to navigate to google.com, verify the title of the page, verify user is able to type in the input box. So let's say I have 3 test cases. Are we seeing somewhere how many test cases are passed, how many are fail? Are we seeing somewhere? I don't see anywhere. It's not telling me out of 3, 2 are passed, 1 is fail. It's not telling me, right? Selenium task is not to convert your code into test cases. Selenium is just for executing the test. But at the end, if you are executing 1,000 lines of code, you should be knowing that there were 100 test cases. And at the end, you want to know how many are pass, how many are fail. Just by execution, what we can achieve? We are automating our manual test cases. So if in manual we do expected is equal to actual, then the test case is pass, otherwise it is fail. Same thing we have to do in automation as well. At the end, it should tell us how many are pass, how many are fail. Selenium standalone cannot tell you. You need to use a testing framework, a unit test framework, which is called as JUnit or TestNG. JUnit is quite old. It's still used by developers, but TestNG has got so many features which are not even there in JUnit. JUnit, TestNG purpose, both are same. But in automation, people are using TestNG. TestNG is very wide. Right? Many features which are not there in JUnit, you'll find it in TestNG. And what is TestNG? It's a different Java project available in a form of a jar file. This is also a jar file. In this project, if you want to use TestNG, just right click on your project, go to build path, add libraries, TestNG, next, finish, and you're going to see that TestNG jars are added. See, everything is a collection of a jar. And what we are doing, we are just adding jar files and extending that functionality and achieving whatever that we want to achieve. Anything feasible in Java we can achieve and integrate with Selenium. That is why Selenium is very popular in industry, because anything that you can think in a programming language, you can achieve that with Selenium. There is no boundary, right? That is the reason why Selenium is gaining its importance, right? Yeah, so Arvina is asking, before we start our project, should we add all these jar files? Yes, we have to add all the jar files, and then we'll be including all this library. Okay, Venkat is asking why this one is included in the main library. This one, I have not added it as a reference library. You can add it as a reference library as well. I've installed a Eclipse plugin, which is actually adding this thing. Right, I've not downloaded any jar and then added it. I've added Eclipse plugin. I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. Right. Can you explain, please repeat why TestNG? TestNG is to convert your existing code into test cases. so that you can at the end report how many test cases are getting passed or getting failed, right? So that's what the purpose of TestNG. And then what is Maven? Maven is something called as a build tool or a dependency management tool. This is very, very important, right? At times, what I want to execute my project by just double clicking on something like a batch file. If I show you, let me see if I have some batch file over here. Something. I'll go to workspaces and I go to, let me see. Yeah, something like this. I'll double click on it and you're gonna see it is going to perform all the automation. I'm not inside Eclipse at this moment. And you can see everywhere Maven, Maven, Maven is written. So this thing is actually done with the help of Maven. Maven is a build tool. And now it is calling your test cases. And now you're going to see a browser will be launched. See, Chrome browser is launching. And we're going to navigate to the test site. We're going to read the data from Excel. See, the data is being read from Excel. It's a parameterized data. See, one test case repeated with n number of test cases, set of data. See, and the testing done. And if you go to reports, you're going to see a report generated for today. This is the report. See, clicking on this, then entering the first value, second value, third value, test case pass. This is the second set of data. This is the third set of data, and all test cases are successfully executed. Right? Yeah, this is like a batch file. Isha, by default, you'll not find TestNG under Eclipse. You need to install a plugin. We're gonna see once we jump onto that lecture. Okay, Sachin, you want me to open the batch file? Okay, I'll do that. The batch file only contains Maven commands. So if I right click and edit this, you'll see just this much code is written, right? How these things will be generated, we're gonna learn all these things. This is extent 4, correct? The latest version of extent. Okay, so that is what Maven is for building dependency. What is this? We're gonna study about this as well, but this will be covered in the next lecture. So there's a whole big theory to understand this part as well, right? Then now comes Jenkins. So what is Jenkins? Let me show you Jenkins as well. So Jenkins is like a GUI tool. So I'll go over here and start Jenkins, java-jar jenkins.var. So at times, let's say my client is sitting, I'm in India and client is sitting in US and client want to see the execution, want to see the reporting, want to execute the test and want to see how many test cases are getting passed or failed. One of the thing is I can replicate the same thing which is there on my machine on client's machine. For that, I need to install everything. But client is a non-technical person. I mean, he should not be able to understand and configure things if any errors occurred. So what I'll do, I'll give client a UI. A UI is something like this. This is a GUI application. So where client will be getting a username and a password, and then client will gonna log in from his username and password. And then client will gonna see a dashboard like this. So here, client will gonna see his project. Let's say this is the project, and client just need to click on schedule a build, schedule a build. Okay, so see this build is triggered. If I open this, let's see what is going inside this build. And over here, Console output. See, Jenkins is calling Maven. Maven is scanning the project. So Maven is scanning our Java project, and then it is going to give a call to TestNG framework. See, test, running test suite. And now it is going to give a call to Chrome driver, and Chrome is going to launch the browser. See, browser launched, and complete testing will be done. See, the same test cases are being executed. We're not using Eclipse now. Once the testing is done, test run for 0 failures, right? You can see the reports are being archived, archiving HTML report. Now at the same place, client should be able to see the reports as well. See, these are the extent reports. And these are the latest reports, right? So client need not to go anywhere to look at the reporting part, to look at the coding part. He can do the execution from here. That's how the Jenkins is going to work. Maven is working on your local machine, building the task, and Jenkins is is integrating everything. Is integrating Maven, is integrating WebDriver code, integrating all the APIs. So Jenkins is a huge stuff. We'll be looking at Jenkins itself. It is used for client perspective. No, not only for client perspective. There are a lot of reasons. Jenkins pipeline is there. Jenkins continuous integration process is there. So a lot of things are there. Jenkins is a huge component. We're going to look at Jenkins in detail. All right, so that's what Jenkins is. And we'll be covering this as well. And this is for checking checkout of the code. Auto IT and SQL is at times we may need to upload a file from a system, right? We can use it using Auto IT SQL, or there are some external things as well. We're going to look at that part as well. And then comes your frameworks. Frameworks like we have a data-driven framework. We'll be working on a live project using data-driven and a hybrid approach, which is like a keyword-driven plus data-driven, data plus keyword. Then we'll be using page object model, very widely used framework. 90% of the companies are using page objects itself. And we'll be including another design pattern in it that is called as page factory. So these are the things that we'll be covering in Selenium in the live projects. Cucumber part will be covering in API testing, right? Okay, so what are data driven? These are basically frameworks. If we are reading data from Excel, we call it as a data driven. Data plus keyword driven is another approach. If you're not familiar with frameworks, don't worry about it. These are some of the projects which will be designing from scratch, some of the live projects that will be implementing using some design patterns, using some optimization of the code. So we'll be integrating everything into one project. That is what is called as a framework. So your one framework is like your one major project that includes your mail API, your log4j, your reporting part, your database part, your test cases, everything is integrated into one single project, is called as an automation framework, right? So that's what we are going to cover in the 3 months of the time. But for the people who joined as a demo, we'll be starting with core Java from next weekend itself, and same timings, 8 to 10. Core Java is taken by a different instructor, right? So he's again very much expert in automation as well, but he is taking our core Java sessions over here. So you're gonna enjoy the core Java part as well. And Selenium, all these components I myself will be covering. I'll be covering all this automation part, and even your entire part that is listed over here that is covered by me. It's just like you are getting a separate core Java training before you get started with Selenium. So this training will help you in building up your base with Selenium. So Selenium classes are also starting from next weekend, same time, 8 to 10. People who are already done with Java are starting with Selenium. People who already know Java and directly who want to continue with the Selenium part can join in the same batch, right? And people who want to start with Java can leave the Selenium part and start from the Java part from the next session, right? So I'll be sending you the schedule. WhatsApp groups will also be formed for the new batch which is going to start for Java. I'll be forming up that WhatsApp group in a day or two, and then I'll be sending out the communication. You'll be added to that WhatsApp group. For Selenium, the WhatsApp group is already created, so people who directly want to start from Selenium, just drop me an email or ping me on WhatsApp, and then I'll gonna include you in that particular WhatsApp group, right? Okay, fees. Okay, for the new people, like people who have already joined, must be knowing about the lifetime membership. So same offer is for everyone who is going to enroll for this Selenium training. You can go through the details of the package that you'll be getting. It's one-time lifetime membership. The cost is just 149 USD, 10,000. And what this lifetime membership is, in this lifetime membership, you'll be getting complete training on Selenium with Java. You'll be getting complete training on API automation. We have a course on APM. At the moment, it is not in the live training, but there's a detailed video library of APM. So APM will also be covered, right? Database, we are including it in Selenium itself. So all these things are covered. Addition to this, we just ended up a JMeter batch today itself. So we'll be starting a new batch in another 2 weeks. So you can join the JMeter training as well. We are starting a manual testing training, SQT training from 8 a.m. IST. We did a demo session today. So next week we are starting this batch. So with the lifetime membership, you are actually going to get access to all these courses, to all the live trainings. There are 7 to 8 instructors. Whichever batch you want to join, you'll be getting all the meeting invites every Friday evening. You just need to click on that link and you can join the session. So this is what one of the unique stuff that we recently started 1 or 2 months back, and we are getting a great response in this because you can see, I mean, Selenium live training is just for 10,000. I mean, in 10,000 you're getting access to all other trainings as well. So you're not going to find this thing anywhere else. So this is something collectively we instructors have thought to contribute it to the industry. So we thought that coming up with such a great offer where everyone can take a benefit. And at times it happens that once you are done with the Selenium training, you again want to repeat it. You have lifetime access with you. You can repeat your batches n number of times you want. Addition to this, I keep on exploring new courses. So there is a complete video library that I have created. So you're gonna get access to these are somewhere around 15 plus courses on different automation tools. Automation automation architect is there, Cypress is there, Protractor is there, robot framework is there, API in Python is there, API in Java is there, Serenity BDD framework is there. So all these automation tools, these are detailed video library. So you're gonna get lifetime access to all this video library. Any course that I'm going to add in future or a live training we are going to conduct, you will be a part of that training. You'll get free access to all the courses. So that's what this lifetime membership is all about. So once you enroll for Selenium, you will be enrolled to all other courses as well, right? Yeah, but so I have somewhere around 11 courses on Udemy, but here there are 15 plus courses. So whatever there is on Udemy, you'll get access to everything over here, right? So Anna is asking, how can we navigate for all ongoing classes? See, for all ongoing classes, you'll be getting an email from my end. You'll be added to a group. There's a lifetime membership group that we have created, and every weekend, every Friday evening, I generally send meeting invites for all the batches. So whichever you want to join, let's say you are joining for Selenium, you'll be getting a meeting invite in that group. So you just need to click on that and join it. right? In case you want to attend 3 batches in a day, one for API, one for Selenium, one for manual, you can do that thing as well. So that's what a unique concept that we came up with, right? So that's all in this session. Chinmay, you are not added to the WhatsApp group. Just ping me on WhatsApp or just drop me an email. I'll see and add to you. But I mean, the WhatsApp group informations is available in that lifetime membership Google group itself. So if you navigate to that group, just scroll down a little bit, you're gonna see WhatsApp information. Just click on that and join yourself, right? Okay, so where can you find today's recording? So today's recording. Today recording is still be like it's not yet processed, so once you are done with the session it will be added, but yesterday's recording you should be able to find it over here. Go to Selenium online training and go to the very last batch that is done with the Java part. So this is the batch which is done with the Java part. So core Java day 15, it is not yet reflected over here, but it is already added. If you click on this start, the next session you're going to see after this is day 1 of Selenium WebDriver, right? And day 2 will be added over here. And for the new people, there will be a separate section created on top of this with the name batch March 2021, where we're going to add the core Java lectures, right? People who are joining for WebDriver directly will be added in this batch, and people who are joining as a fresh from core Java, we are going to create another section, batch March 2021, and all the recordings from Java will be hosted in that. Yes, I'll help you with CV building. I have a lot of sample resumes with different experience level, so I'm gonna forward it to you. We'll help you with interview questions. So all these things will be there. Sure, I'll be sending for every weekend. We'll be generating new meeting invites, so you're gonna get the live session links every weekend, right? JMeter just ended today. The next batch will gonna start at the end of this month. We are going to keep the timings as that I'll be. I need to check it with the JMeter instructor. Most probably it will be a evening timing, evening India time, but it is not going to clash your Selenium batch timings. API is starting at 6 p.m. from next Saturday, right? So I'll be sending you all the details over the email in case you want to, for the new people, in case you want to enroll yourself and get access to all the study material, the video library, you can directly do it from this link, right? And once you're done, I'll be giving you access to all the study material and other things as well. Sure, Tarun, I'll check it. Just like let me know the mail ID on Gmail, and then I'm gonna approve that. Okay, and Selenium jar file, you can download it from here. Selenium.dev and go to download. And this is where we downloaded 3.141.59, right? All right. Shanky, morning timings are little difficult because this is a global timings where UK students are also joining. So morning will be like very, very early morning for them. So that's the reason the timings we're keeping it like this. This is like a global time for everyone. All right. So that's all in this session, guys. We're gonna meet next weekend. For the new people, I'll be sending you details over the email. Just go through that, and for rest of the people, will be joining in the same batch. And yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. Thanks a lot, guys, for your feedback, and we're gonna meet next weekend. Yes, we'll be using WebDriver Manager only. We are not going to add individual jar files and the browser executable. We're going to use WebDriver Manager to automate that process. Right. Sure. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. Isha, you might be looking at the old link. So you need to look at the latest one for the latest batches. All right. I'll ping you. I mean, just ping me on WhatsApp. I'll send you the link. Sure, Himanshu. I'll be sending you all the details in the email. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you all for joining. Thanks.